you ever seen that one piece of advice that's like, when designing characters, make sure that their silhouettes are really sort of recognizable and kind of exaggerated, and that good character design has like quite exaggerated features and proportions and shapes. You meant to use unusual shapes. You see it going around a lot. I feel like I've seen it quite a lot. Maybe not recently. Maybe this is just an old take on old ideas. But I feel like I see that a lot. Oftentimes in like the animation industry, online advice type stuff. And look, it's fine. It's a good piece of advice. In general, true. Yes. But then I think, like Taya Matsumoto's out here just making characters that look like people. Like you break down their silhouettes and it's just like a normal human silhouette. Anyway, I don't know why I was thinking about that. I do know why I was thinking about it, just ruminating on stuff. I feel like we've gone a full 360 recently, a full 180 on art advice. I feel like we went through the stage of like lots of artists giving out all these blanket advice, and then we went through a little stage of like there was a pause, there was a lull, and then you know what? We came back around, and now people are like, "Hey, fuck you for saying I shouldn't give out specific advice. Like this is just advice for me, and that's fine." But I'm glad we've reached there. Am I making sense? Does that make sense? I think it's fine to give out advice. Truly, it is. I should probably take some of the advice. At the same time, I don't know. But do you know what I'm talking about? I feel like I've seen that advice around. Like, make sure the silhouette's crazy. And I just feel like, is that just not... It feels like almost like Pixar propaganda. Disney-centric advice. Like, every character has to be super exaggerated in some way. Oh, they're a brainy character. They got to have a big head. Like, oh, this guy, he's sort of muscular, so he's really exaggeratedly triangular, like upside down. And I'm just sort of like, do you have to do that every single time? Like, why? I get it. It does make sense. If you're making cartoon characters, comic characters, maybe for kids, like, I just push back against the idea that, like, it's like a one-to-one. Like, exaggerated proportions and recognizable silhouette equals good character design. Like, I just don't think it's true. And I don't think every story needs it. I don't think every cartoon needs it. Sometimes the art isn't about that. Sometimes the story's not about that. Sometimes just the style and the way of drawing something or a character. I mean, funnily enough, I feel like maybe anime is quite a good example of this, where sure, some characters have quite recognizable silhouettes, especially if they're super famous. But on the whole, lots of manga characters, lots of anime characters, all have very kind of general human proportions. If you just made them all silhouettes, they would mostly, other than the pointy hair, maybe in the accessories, they all kind of have human shape, which is interesting. I'm just making note of that. I'm not making any judgment one way or the other. It's just funny to me that I always see the advice go out. I have seen the advice go out that like good character design is exaggeration and silhouettes and complementary colors, and as much as I think there's truth in all those and it's good advice, I also still think that you can kind of do what you want. And if it works, it works. And maybe your story isn't about characters that look cartoony and exaggerated. And that's okay too. Now, you might be thinking, I'm applying this to what I'm doing here. Not necessarily. I'm not saying, these characters that you're seeing right now are like purposefully going against that. Like one of them's got a hat with ears. One of them's, they kind of do have, one's got long like locks. And done up in a hairstyle that's kind of recognizable if you were to turn it into a silhouette, I guess. I'm just sort of, this is an OC video. This is a character design video. Welcome, how you doing? I hope you're doing all right. Yeah, elephant in the room, these are my comic characters. Elephant in the room, let's not talk about my graphic novel. Let's not talk about progress. It's fine. You know what? That's what the theme of this video was going to be, partly. The theme of this video was going to be how I'm disappointed in myself and my progress in my graphic novel. But let's not do it. In fact, let's just change it entirely. I'm gonna now devil's advocate my own brain and say, you know what, fuck it. It's fine to overthink stuff, and it's fine to have stories in your head and not make progress with it. Why the fuck not? I'm a human being. I exist. I've got an imagination. I've got characters. I've got stories, and that's cool. Who knows what will happen with it? Who knows what? There are more important things. Getting on with your life, enjoying your life. Maybe just enjoying your life means you just got loads of stories and ideas and you never actually do anything with them. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's okay. All right? Stop beating yourself up if you're out there too and you've got all your OCs in a line and you got all your little ramblings and your little notes about these epic adventures that you've been cooking up. Why have we got it in us to turn that into a negative thing? Like, oh, I've got this idea for a story, but it sucks because I'm not a movie director making it into a film. Or like, but I'm not a published author and I haven't got those characters out there. Why are we doing that to ourselves? Because that's all it is. You're just comparing yourself. Fundamentally, the whole idea of like, oh, I have a story and it's all in my head, but I haven't got it out onto the page or I haven't got it out anywhere. Fundamentally, the end point of that is that all you're doing is comparing yourself to other people who have published books, cartoons, whatever, and you're saying, oh, I've got an idea, but it's not there yet. Who cares? That's what I'm saying. Keep on cooking. Keep on making your stuff. From me to you. Keep going. For example, I was pretty pleased. It took me quite a while to do these drawings. It took me quite a while to make these designs. As per usual, always more satisfied with my mechanical pencil on paper, scan in, colour it, than I am, most of the time, drawing straight digitally. A lot of texture and nuance. There's a certain charm about my scanned in pencil lines. We'll see if that changes. I feel like Firefly's face took a while, and Blues, I'm still, let's slow it down. They're maybe not the 100% official. What I need to do is one of those little like turnarounds where you draw like the definitive framework drawing of the character from like the front, the side, the back, and stuff like that. But fundamentally, this is where they're at in my head at the moment, and I like it. I don't have to worry about where my graphic novel is at the moment to describe these two characters to you. These are the protagonists. These are my main characters. Maybe I'll explain the vibe. I guess this is a slight reveal. Look, at the moment, the working title for my graphic novel is Blue Sky Graffiti. I'll let you sit with that for a while. Do you like it? Don't steal it. I will sue you into the ground. If you steal it, if you're out there and you're stealing it, you're a little thief. Well, fair play to you. At the moment, yeah, Blue Sky Graffiti. I would describe it as a fantasy graphic novel, a fantasy story with a city aesthetic. Think Dungeons and Dragons, but it's primarily based in a big city. Think Tech on Concrete, but with more magic and wizards. Think Studio Ghibli designs a Dungeons and Dragons city. Adventure Time, but a bit more mangified. I just like the idea, and I've been steadily over the years designing kind of kooky, magic-y fantasy characters, but that have a sort of somewhat link to a city, like an anime city world. What's it like in a world that has forests full of mythical creatures, but there's also like cities with graffiti on it and like modern, slightly modern things that aren't super fantasy. That's the sort of aesthetic. And these are my two main characters. I'm not shying away from the fact that I'm heavily inspired by Tech on Concrete. Even their sort of personalities are somewhat inspired by the two kids in Tech on Concrete. I like the idea that these two sort of, live together on the rooftops. A theme of the story is like the connections between all these different people that are living in the city. How these two kids that don't, have a family living together and helping the community, and they know all the, the shopkeepers and the adventurers, the weird little people that are living about in the neighborhood. They're the heroes of the story that aren't going on the huge quests. They're like they're city folk. It's not about like the kid who lives in a tiny village going off into a huge adventure. It's like they exist in the big city that the kid who is the hero might visit. You know what I'm saying? Very much like yin and yang, kind of like happy and slightly more serious. Blue is the kid with the animal hat. I keep redrawing it in different ways. I feel like it's meant to be like a little like beanie that's like in the shape of a cat. Yet again, I was gonna steal that Tech on Concrete thing of they're constantly kind of like changing their outfits in that, and the clothes that they're wearing, these kids. And I thought that was a really cool idea because it's like we're following these people. It links back to what I was saying at the start about like character design. Even when they change clothes, they're still recognizable. And I think that's cool. Anyway, I thought the idea he would have loads of different hats, but I keep drawing him with the same hat, and I like it, but Anyway, he's a sort of like the more happy-go-lucky character, optimistic, enthusiastic, a bit more maybe immature for his age kind of thing, and loud, and just wants to help out. Then I would say that Firefly, she's more of the serious one, the one that's like looking out for them, the one that's maybe a bit more down about things, just a bit more pessimistic. As I say, classic yin and yang, classic outgoing versus more introverted person. A classic combo. We're not reinventing the wheel here. So there you go. That's a little window. I hope you like them. I was thinking about the weapons they'd have. This is a Dungeons and Dragons world, so we're talking swords and magic spells and creatures of the forest. He's got a wooden sword. Blue's got a wooden sword. She's got a baseball bat. However, I want to play around with that idea of like, why do you have to always fight things? Why is there always like conflict and fighting? Even if I might include violence and fighting in the story, that's definitely a main theme of it. Like, what's it look like for a Dungeons and Dragons story to not have violence and combat in? Very Adventure Timey. And if you remember those few episodes later on where Finn like stops fighting. What am I going on about? What am I saying? I mean, I'm under no illusions, and I'm not shying away from the fact that this whole thing is very much me picking lots of different things that I've been inspired by and adding them, to my story. But I'm enjoying writing it, and I need to get back to it. But we've got to get bread on the table, don't we? We've got to do our commissions, we've got to do our art, we've got to go to our part-time jobs, and that's fine. All right? I think it's super cool that you've got this idea within you, and I think it's super cool that you're creating and you're someone that has this imagination. Full stop. That's where you stop thinking about it. If this was the last thing that I ever do on Blue Sky Graffiti and these characters, this was it. Here's this story, by the way, that little pixel art animation that you've probably all seen. That's the original, that became this. I'm pleased with this drawing. Like, it's really good. Oh, I drank my coffee too quickly. You've got to listen to yourself and do what you've got to do, and then try and notice those thoughts that are creeping in that aren't yours. Like, sometimes I feel like I can tell which ones are coming straight from me and they're about just me having an idea, and then the other ones that are me sort of judging myself or like thinking about someone else's opinion or the quote unquote society's opinion on something else, an external thing judging what I'm thinking. And I just got to stop myself from doing that. And I think you should too. You want to make a whole world and then just be like, nah, I'm going to just start doing a different story and a different drawing. What's wrong with that? Fight me in the comments. Tell me why I'm wrong. I'm sure you're going to have valid points. And I won't listen. So Elden Ring's a really good game. I'm like 20 hours in. Talk about using your time wisely. Like I said last time, never got into Dark Souls, didn't get the hype. Never got into Bloodborne. Or I thought I would get into Sekiro, but I didn't. But now we're deep in Elden Ring now. I've got this weird sneaking suspicion that like they've definitely made the first area like somewhat easier than my memory of some certain Dark Souls games, but maybe not. My character's name is Sparrowhawk, based off the Earthsea nickname for the main character. What games are you playing? Did you see the Nintendo Direct? Pikmin 4, Advance Wars finally coming out. The new Zelda trailer, sweet. I'm also excited that there's a new Professor Layton. Even though I've never properly played any of them, I've like known about them the whole time. I think I played the first one a little bit on DS. I'd be up for just getting a Switch one, even if I feel like it really doesn't matter. The plot line, the world, the universe of Professor Layton doesn't need me to have played the previous ones. I think I'm on a roll. I think I can keep this energy up. We got more drawings to come, more ideas are flowing. It's okay. I'm gonna try my best to keep you entertained. That's at the forefront of my mind. You. When you see one of these videos, just think, oh, that person, they're thinking of me. They want me to be entertained. Alright? Alright, is that okay? Going back to what I was saying at the start of the video though about like advice. Yeah, I don't think I completed the thought. What I was saying was we've reached a point where now people are fighting back against the people who said don't give out that advice because that's not how I should do it. Like that, it's slightly different from the character design thing. It was I think I saw something about someone was saying use this colorway and don't do it like this, and then they were saying how people would then be like, no, I'm going to do this way. I'm not going to listen to your advice. Stop giving out advice like that. I can do it however I want. The argument then is like, well, obviously you can do it however you want. Like, I'm just saying what works for me. And I agree with that. I do agree with that point. Like, when you do give out advice, even if it's super specific, it's like a given that, like, you don't have to listen to it. And it's true. I agree with that sort of thought as well. It's just about how you can't cover all nuance with what you're saying online, and everyone just needs to start learning how to sort of like just stay in your own lane and just take things somewhat tread lightly. What's that from? That's a poem or something, or a story. Tread lightly in life, or a saying. I don't know. I hope you're doing all right out there. I hope your creative projects are going well. This has been Chaotic Good Radio. I don't think I have anything else to update you with. I don't think I have any words of wisdom or new thing to tell you. Don't know what video's coming next. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you'll see next, but I'm sure it'll be great. I guess just fundamentally my whole thing is about that. How we're all saying things that we think are important. There's the conversation, and then there's like what's really happening in reality. And there's like what you think you want to do with your life, and then there's just what you're getting on with in your life. There's the ideas, the sort of collective ideas of what's right or wrong or good or bad, or what we should be doing and what we're not doing. And then there's just the reality of sort of getting on with it. It's almost impossible to articulate it. And that's what we're all struggling with. You think you're not, you are. But there you go. We got a new bird feeder. An anti-squirrel bird feeder. We just thought we didn't want the squirrels and potential garden rats to be stealing all the bird food from our balcony. So we got a funny little bird feeder that like drops. If there's something heavy on it, it drops and closes. I watched as a squirrel was like hanging off and trying to get it, and it's quite funny. Poor little squirrel. He seemed like he's doing alright though. I've talked too much for a video that's just a little character design drawing. I hope this has been entertaining for you. I'll see you soon for another one. Thank you for watching, and thank you for clicking on the video. You're fine. You're good. You're good. What do you mean? You're doing fine. Blue Sky Graffiti. Watch this space.